Laptop open on the counter, cold compiling, toast pops hot, phone keeps buzzing, group chat screaming.
Welcome back to the Neo Notebook Streamcast, your weekly home for Macbook Neo news, real world insight, and a community living with Apple's most talked about laptop, the Macbook Neo. Big numbers this week. That's what a big part of the news was. The second part of the news was about all the competitors that have been calling out of the cracks. And we're going to take a look at some of them. We have tons of links, but let's find out who's here for the show tonight. The usual panel. I'm Marty Gensius, a professor, counselor, educator, and podcaster from thepodtalk.net.
I'm Dave Ginsburg, an IT professional and host of the In Touch with iOS podcast.
I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT and with photography.
I'm Brett Kennedy, a 33-year Mac veteran with an interest in photography, videography, and traveling.
We're all a little spacey this week, and I'm the king of spaciness because I just came off a 4-day bout with some type of flu and just getting back. That's why we didn't have a show on our usual Sunday night. Now, here's the news. We're going to do a show tonight, which is Tuesday, so you'll get it probably Wednesday morning, and then you won't see us until a week from Sunday because I'm going to be doing some traveling this coming Sunday, and just better not to try and do a show when I'm on the road. So next Sunday we will be off, or as they say, dark. I never really liked that. How is it dark? And we'll be coming back the following Sunday with a new episode of the Neo Notebook. I did some research today to find out what were the articles that occurred in the last week. And I use a source, and the source that I use winds up going through and searching through everything that has MacBook Neo in its title or a reference to it. I think it's basically a title search. And usually maybe 300, 400 articles. That's really pretty good for a product. This week, around 1,200. And I thought, oh man, am I ever going to get the show notes done for this at all? Because I have to find.
I want this. I want this. I want this.
Well, no, here was the problem. All the articles centered around like three things. One was the domination of MacBook in terms of the media and how it has really boomed out in terms of the sales numbers and the information on the sales number. And then the really big part of it was the competitors that have come out this week and have been announced. And frankly, I realized this after going through around 900 of them. About 900 of the 1,200 had Dell in the title. So it was Dell beats MacBook Neo. Dell is a big threat to MacBook Neo. Dell in all of the titles. And this was one thing, but it hit every news source, news sources you couldn't imagine, and internationally. So India, Thailand, all of these things were coming back. Same article, republished multiple times on across the day. So I couldn't even get through a whole day of search without the same article coming up from India Times over multiple posts. All of them about essentially Dell. There are a couple other ones we'll talk about. There's an Acer, there's an Asus that has been announced. Eric actually found one which I thought was pretty funny when I looked at the video on it, about 12. What is it called? Something 12. I put it in at the Framework 12. The Framework 12, which was an interesting concept. It was an interesting concept. So let's go ahead and just kind of talk about some of the things that have come out with articles. This one from Mac Rumors. MacBook Neo is inviting Brett back in. Okay, MacBook Neo outsold every other Mac in its debut quarter. This came out on June the 2nd. And from Mac Rumors, similar articles that we see that talk about it. Apple shipped 1.1 million MacBook Neo units in Q1 2026. That's an IDC estimate. Neo was only on sale for roughly 3 weeks of Q1. Having launched in mid-March, shipments spiked from early April onward. And then you have another article here by an article from 9 to 5. And 9 to 5, here's how the MacBook Neo sales compare to M5 MacBook Air and Pro. And Neo moved more units in its first weeks than either the M5 MacBook Air or the M5 MacBook Pro. M5 MacBook Air and Pro maintained stable sales alongside the Neo launch. Apple analysts up. This one is from Mac Daily News. Apple analysts up MacBook Neo 2026 shipments to 10 million units. This is Ming-Chi Kuo's estimate, and he's been wrong before. He forecast 2026 5 million. Revised 2026 forecast is 10 million units. So trigger for the revision, Sunny Optical confirmed as new Apple CCM compact camera module supplier for the MacBook Neo. Kuo's post reveals Sunny Optical has secured 40 to 50% share of the variable aperture lens for the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max. And final article, Kuo confirms massive MacBook Neo demand. First 15 million, first 5 million units already sold as of the report date. Neo remains top-selling laptop on Amazon. Systems integrator has built dedicated bulk procurement pipelines. Kansas City Public Schools, we mentioned this, and Dave reported it on In Touch with iOS, and then also we mentioned the story about 30,000 MacBook Neos, actually not 30,000, but 30,000 Apple products. And the UK firms Severnet and School Care opened dedicated educational procurement pipelines for the Neo. So that's all about MacBook Neo dominating sales and numbers, and that's all good and fine. We get to the Goliath slaying coming up in a minute. But any reactions to the sales? I would like to say surprise, because we didn't, we thought it was good. We didn't know how much they prepared. We didn't realize a lot from this. But then the numbers come out, the market numbers come out, and they're really quite shattering.
No, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, we knew that the Neo was going to be a big, huge seller. We all bought them right at launch, and there's stock troubles because they didn't have they said, per rumor that they had already built about 1 million or so already. So obviously a lot of those had sold out. But this is a hot seller. This is a hot market as far as this price point. And we'll talk about in a minute what the competitors are doing. So,
Yeah.
The thing that really jumped out at me is that we've been hearing for quite some time now that the laptops are Apple's best-selling products right now. And for the Neo, in the 3 weeks it was available in Q1 to outsell both the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro is pretty incredible. So I agree with Dave. I'm not surprised that this is a best-selling product. The $599 starting price point is pretty compelling. But the part that did surprise me is that it did outsell the other two product lines.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that the price points on the MacBook Air, they were selling it for $899, which is only what, a $200
Yeah.
difference of
Yeah.
price between the MacBook Neo
Yeah.
with the Touch ID. So, um, and it's but that price had just come out not too long ago, within the last 2 weeks or so, a week or 2 weeks ago. So as we record here, so that's so Apple's getting real competitive. This is the first time ever I see Apple being this aggressive with pricing. It's not like them.
Yeah. I think it's pretty
And
cool. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, I don't think this has peaked either. Because I think that people are beginning to realize there's something out. They've seen a few things. There've been a lot of non-current Apple buyers that bought the Neo, but I think there's a whole range of people that haven't discovered it yet or aren't quite ready or whatever. So I think between now and September, there's going to be a whole nother run. This is not over anytime soon. And that doesn't even get into the fall holiday season.
Right.
Yeah, I am. I'd like to say I'm a little concerned about the competitors. I mean, it had to happen, but there's some compelling arguments here, and I think, unfortunately, the people don't pay as much attention to the details as we do, and so I think that's where the attraction is. I just love the title of this article. MacBook Neo is such a threat, Dell has to trick you into buying an XPS. and
I know. I saw this.
and
XPS, the worst laptop ever.
why do you say that, David? Please help. I'm not saying
Yeah,
I'm not
no.
disagreeing with you, but I really want your analysis on this. I can give
I'll
you this.
give you-
I
Go
can
ahead.
give you. I run down the specs and then we'll have take a look at it.
Well,
Prices.
just
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
my past experience in the enterprise. I mean, we bought the XPS 13, and that thing was the biggest piece of garbage we ever had. We had to tell Dell, hey, we got to get rid of these laptops. The performance is god awful. That's all I would hear is complaint after complaint about that laptop. I mean, they probably have improved it. They learned about this, but we had to get rid of them sooner than later. I don't know if we got credit, but it's I know I wasn't the only one alone in that boat with XPS models. And then Dell goes into to name everything. They're just like being like a MacBook Pro, the Pro 14, the Pro
Yeah,
13. Uh,
that was
uh,
confusing.
yeah. So I mean, I have not tried the XPS, the current models. I've heard some okay things with it, good things, but just having that bad taste in my mouth, I would not recommend the XPS model to anybody.
Yeah,
Was it an issue of
Performance. It was pure out performance. The processor was
Yeah.
was just at a point where people were saying it's so slow, it's lagging, applications aren't opening. Uh, it has some overheating issues, and it was a nice laptop as far as its form factor. It's slim, it was nice, it's lightweight, but it just the processor that was in that at that time was just not good. It was just very, very poor performance.
yeah. Well, this is what they're saying in terms of processor for the XPS 13 2026. Price is $599. Student promo expires in November, so get it at $599 or you're going to have to pay $699 retail. Processor is an Intel Core 5 320. That's a Core Series 3 Wildcat Lake on base.
Right.
Then they have Intel Core Ultra 7 and at 355. So they're doing an upsell on this thing, obviously, in terms of models. So they're not coming up with a low-end laptop. They're coming up with a low-end laptop so they can upsell people automatically to a higher-end laptop. You can make the same argument, I guess, with Apple, but Core Ultra Series 3 and a high-end Copilot Plus model. 8 gigabyte of RAM, 32 2 30 gigabyte LPD LPDD RX R5X. Storage is 256 to 1 terabyte. And also display is 13.4 inch 2K touchscreen. It has Dolby Vision, 30 to 120 hertz, which people have been raving about. And iSafe weighs 2.2 pounds. The camera is a 1080p IR webcam with Windows Hello facial recognition. Quad speakers, 8 watt. You didn't like my impression of Windows Hello?
No,
8 watt.
I have to support it. That's why.
8 watt total output Dolby Atmos. 2 ports. A USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 with a DisplayPort 2.1. Thunderbolt 4 on the Core Ultra models. No headphone jack. Connectivity's Wi-Fi 7. That's another one they're talking about. That's biggie. At least the media is talking about. And then here's the killer. OS Windows 11. And features the XPS 13 has, the MacBook Neo does not. So the bare bones comparison between the two. Has a backlit keyboard, which we know that's been a wish list for even folks on this panel. A touchscreen display. Coming through the Mac world and coming through the PC world before touchscreen displays, not a big thing for me. Variable refresh rate, 30 to 120 hertz versus Neo's 60 hertz. Wi-Fi 7 versus Neo's Wi-Fi 6E. Up to 32 gigabytes RAM. Neo is fixed at 8 gigabyte. Of course, you have to upsell. If we upsold you to a MacBook Pro, you would also be getting 32 gigabytes of RAM at least. Up to 1 terabyte of storage. Neo tops at 512. Windows Hello facial recognition unlock and quad speakers. Those are the differences. But there are some things that the Neo has that the XPS 13 does not. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, Touch ID on the 512 gigabyte model, a fanless design. And, Dave, you were talking about overheating issues, not with the MacBook Neo, but with the XPS. And simply Mac OS and Apple ecosystem integration. And so that's the breakdown on this Dell XPS 13. And I don't know, we have a few more articles on that. This from CNET. Dell takes aim at the MacBook Neo with its 599 XP 13. And then we get into Acer. We'll get into that in a bit. So any reaction to this? I mean, I take Dave very seriously about Dell. I have a Dell sitting in a book bag in the corner of this room, which I took from my office 3 months ago and haven't touched it because there's no reason to. And this is supposed to be aluminum. This XPS, the one I've got, is plastic.
Well, don't get me wrong. I've got a lot of history with Dell in 26 years of my career, so I've seen it and done it all. I've dealt with HP. I've dealt with Acer, and I've seen it. Acer in the really old days in the early 2000s. So Dell has had some good models and it's had some god awful models, but for the most part, they did okay. I mean, working in the enterprise, laptops need to have good performance. You got people crashing numbers. You got people doing all kinds of pretty somewhat intense processing power, and to have a laptop that doesn't have doesn't perform well, and not necessarily just the processor itself. I mean, the processor at the time was the processor at the time, but overheating issues. That's the kind of thing. But I mean, I'm not bad mouthing Dell. I think Dell's been around a long time for a reason. They've been making great products. I love their monitors. So I mean, I
Yeah.
buy them exclusively for the most part. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I think Dell makes some good products. This could be a competitive product. I'd be interesting to at least check it out. I'm not buying it, so I can tell you that. I've got enough laptops to last me a lifetime here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be. I'm going to go to the store and I'll play with it and see what I think of it.
I'll look
But
at it. Yeah, that's about all I'll
yeah.
do. I hope you
Hey,
don't
Dave,
buy it, Brandy. Come on.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Did you ever work on a gateway?
Yes, I owned a gateway at one point. I had a
That
desktop.
that was my
I
first
love those
computer.
stores, though. I love those stores. The gateway stores. Remember those?
yeah,
Yeah.
those were nice.
Yeah, I thought it was a good deal. But we actually I didn't get to deal with them as much because it was during almost right after I had just started. They were
Yeah.
using Toshiba and they were using Gateway laptops, and oh my
Yeah.
god, those things were beasts.
Yeah,
But
I had a gateway desktop when I first came to the
yeah,
university. That was the new desktop they gave me. So
yeah, they were great. I thought Gateway made good products, and the store concept was great. They were basically I think I wouldn't be all surprised that Apple kind of modeled what they did and some of the things that what Gateway did because they were good customer service in the stores. It just the model didn't work on the PC world. I mean, Microsoft tried it too, but that's another story.
yeah,
I'm going on it.
yeah, yeah,
So there's two things that I'm noticing on all of these laptops. One is sound. So like the Dell model's got a dual fan, which is good because the two fans mean that they don't have to spin as fast, so it's quieter, but
Yeah.
it still is a fan.
Mhm.
And then the amount of power that's being used is higher. And maybe that doesn't always matter, but eventually that adds up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so those are the fan is probably the biggest thing. Um, there are people that really just want a machine that's quiet.
yeah. We've there's another article in here I'll throw in, and this is related to Dell. The Dell XPS 13 versus MacBook Neo. I compared both laptops, and this is from iGeek's blog, and it's a hands-on comparison. Although I'm really trying to figure out what they got out of this article that they couldn't have gotten just out of the specs. Because all they do is to give a list of the differences in the specs, but no real, editorial opinions of which one's prettier, things like that. Dell wins with the display. It's a touchscreen display. I just don't get touchscreen displays.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting article, and we have a summary of the differences between the two from this article, which talks about specs and differences. But this gives sort of an editorial. It said Dell claims that S13 can deliver up to 17 hours of 4K Netflix streaming. However, Intel is known for its energy consumption. Again, I get a sense the person hasn't really touched these models because you would test that. So
Are they
anyway.
shipping? Are they actually available yet?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's been something really consistent when we talk about the different competitors. It's all stuff that's been announced, but not necessarily in anyone's hands yet. So we don't really get a good comparison because we don't have that hands on, so we can actually put the two side by side and get a real life comparison between the two.
Yeah, well, the press is ready to make a brouhaha about it, whether they have any facts to go with it or not, other than the specs. Let's see. Let's go on to Acer. Acer is the next computer, Acer Swift Air 14. The title of the article is Acer Swift Air 14 is a peppy MacBook Neo rival with some cool upgrades and a $699 ask. So Intel Core Series 3 Wildcat Lake, Core 5 or 7, both 6-core, RAM up to 16 gigabyte. All of these are apparently base models that are customizable if you want to spend more money. Battery 70 watts, claims 19 hours of video playback, up to 16 hours of web browsing. They have different colors. They have sage green, frost blue, blossom pink, and lilac purple. Yeah, it's just it is just a. It looks a little clunky. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it is definitely an improvement over last year's models and the models from all of the years before this.
You mean
So
in terms
they,
of Acers?
well, in terms of all of these laptops coming out, the
Yeah.
Neo has helped a lot to take the crap that was at the bottom and make them have to go back and just not throw whatever sticks to the wall. They're actually having to come up with better fit and polish and at least better specs on paper, hopefully a little bit better in person. I'm not sure it's enough, but they're making an attempt.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll see a bottom line laptop that's in plastic anymore, unless it's a Google book. I really think that companies would be hard sold at this point to put out a laptop that's not have an aluminum chassis, just because Apple set that standard, and anything else looks cheaper. No matter what the cost, anything else looks cheaper. So we'll see. I agree with you, Eric. It kind of high tide raises all boats. So Acer's new Swift Air wants to take on the MacBook Neo. This comes out of Yahoo News. Hundreds of these articles, just hundreds of these articles in the feeds, even the same graphic there. Early tests suggest that these chips are an improvement over older budget processors, but they still seem to trail Apple's A18 by a clear margin.
And the chips are an improvement, at least on paper. So, but not nearly enough.
Yeah.
And my last experience with the budget chip for mobile from Intel was when Apple released the 12-inch MacBook, just the plain MacBook, and that thing was widely regarded as a real rough buy because it was, I think, $12.99, and it had a pretty weak processor in it for what they were trying to do.
I love
It was
that laptop.
it was a horrible machine.
Oh, I love that
The
laptop.
the form factor was super cool. The
Yes.
internals just didn't keep up with it.
Yeah, but you couldn't use it.
I didn't care. I love that laptop. It's still on my shelf. It's unusable now only because I can't get an operating system to run on it. And it's, it's what, 10, 11 years old or something. It's more than that. And I got one.
Yeah.
I got one because the university said you have to spend this money from your grant or we'll take it back. And I'm like, no way in hell are you getting money back. I'm not donating it to the university. And they said, well, what do you need? I said, can you get me a new laptop? And they got me one of those. And the keys felt like I was pounding on steel. The keys were horrible. but it was like take it and slip it in your pocket and then go on a trip. And it had the whole
Yep.
ecosystem for me. But yeah, they put a bunch of crapware on it, and I tried to crack it, and eventually I took it to an Apple store and said I tried to load a new operating system on it, the newer operating system on it, and it screwed it up. It was in beta. Of course, I tried to do that. And so I couldn't go to the university because they'll say, "What the hell were you doing?" So I went to the Apple store and they went ahead and wiped the whole thing clean so it got all the crapware off of it. And they put a sticker on the bottom of it. It was my purchase device. So anyway, off track. Yeah, there are some, like Forbes has an article here. Dell and Acer take on Apple's MacBook Neo with one major compromise. And what do you think the major compromise is? Come on.
It's not a Mac.
That's it. That's it. It's not the ecosystem.
Right.
And you're struggling with your, not having a combined ecosystem. The red flag in those entry level specs is the 8 GB RAM. MacBook Neo only ships with 8 GB, but they keep talking about how a Neo manages that memory completely differently. And that's where they think they're going to see the overheating with these Windows models, and where they're going to see the problems in terms of freezing up maybe some of the things that Dave dealt with. But the it's the same kind of level of memory, unless you buy a higher level version of these computers, that you're going to wind up with, that are going to cause you the problems that you thought you would have.
Are these all ARM-based laptops, or are they
No.
still
No,
Dell.
x86?
No,
yeah.
yeah, they're
It is a
Wildcat Lake.
newer, yeah, it is a newer chip. So Intel spent some effort trying to come up with a chip that had more friendly features, but it's not powerful compared to the Neo.
Yeah, I saw in one of these articles that they're coming up with an ARM-based chip to run Windows on ARM, but I don't know. I don't think Windows has a layer in their operating system like we have in Rosetta that allows us to bring the old Intel binaries over and run them on Apple Silicon the same way you could bring an Intel binary for a Windows application over and run it on an ARM chip using Windows.
But you can do Windows for ARM and
Right.
get
Yeah,
most
the Windows
most of what
operating
people are.
system will run.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the programs you use on a daily basis, bringing those over. I don't know what the story
Well,
is on that on the Windows side right
yeah.
now.
But for a lot of people, they just need a browser. So the operating system, a browser, something for email, the Office products. So that's doable.
Yeah,
It's maybe not pleasant, but it's doable. Um, it's just nothing is actually shipping just yet.
yeah.
There's a lot of talk.
And then finally, not finally, because we still have Eric's choice
Yeah.
option.
Didn't Nvidia?
Yeah, this is, I was looking at the Asus ZenBook.
Oh, okay.
If I missed one, I missed one. But the Asus ZenBook 14 versus Apple MacBook Neo. Here's a argument: the ZenBook offers upgradable storage and more RAM configurations than the Neo, and the ZenBook 14 runs Windows 11. MacBook Neo runs Mac OS 26. I have been, and I don't know you guys. I know Eric does. I don't know about David or Brett, but I read a lot of Reddit, and I'm signed up for the MacBook subreddit and the MacBook Neo subreddit. And I got angry this week in the subreddit because I got tired of seeing people post pictures of their brand new open MacBook Neo. It's sort of like showing off a new car. Everybody wants to take pictures and thinks everybody's interested in it. And I posted, I said,
let
what, Eric?
let them have their pleasure, right? There are a whole pile of people that ordered a machine. They've been waiting for a couple of months to get it, and it finally showed up, and they're having time to enjoy it. They're posting it. It's a bunch of new users or people who it's been 7 years since their last update, or they're getting ready to go off to college. So this is the first machine that they've had as a personal machine. They got the color they want. They're outfitting it the way they want. It came in, it runs, it's a nice machine. It's even better than what they expected, and they are sharing their joy.
You
Bring
must think
some
I'm
joy into your life.
not in my life. No. They're bringing joy into their own life. And if they,
And they're willing to share it with the rest of the world. It's in a subreddit for the Neo. It's appropriate.
no, it's not. Well, let me put it
You
this way.
belong
I
in the
posted,
curmudgeonly Reddit instead.
no, they now have, it's interesting because, and I don't know if it was, don't think I have this amount of power, but I posted to the subreddit and I'm like, is all we see in this Reddit pictures of people's brand new Neos? Can the moderator manage this somehow? And then the next day, I get this notification that they're going to do like a monthly release of all the love pictures, I guess,
Okay.
So the moderator is going to take those posts and put them into one monthly release.
That's kind of neat. That's a good call.
Yeah. So I don't know if I don't know if I had any impact on it, but there were other people who were like, come on, let's talk about the device. I'm glad you got a new baby boy, but yeah. So anyway, but one of the things that I have to comment on is the appreciation for people who are now using Mac OS versus Windows OS. It's like, what the hell? Why didn't I know about this? I didn't know I could do this. Why does the other operating system make it so complicated? And I can do so much with this machine, and it's so easy to integrate it with everything. So I'll tell you, that's been interesting. That's where I think when I start to worry about what's happening with all this junkware that's coming out, I still have faith that people are starting to learn that the operating system is what's going to sell the machine.
Well, and I mean, for the most part, all of those vendors have the same problem Apple had, and that is they're stuck using Intel chips, and the Intel chips aren't super fast and power efficient, and all of the things that caused Apple to switch to ARM, or their ARM chips, and then there's other issues that Apple doesn't have because of the OS. So yeah, it's going to be a struggle. But there are Linux people that have been happy with the Neo as well, and surprised.
And some people are saying if it ran Linux, I'd be on it. So yeah, I'm tempted now to try and get a machine up. Maybe I can I run Linux on that Dell that I brought home from the office? I don't know.
We'll see. You probably could.
Yeah, I just have to figure out how to do that. I tried to load Ubuntu on a machine once, and I think I got it loaded and then just never did anything with it. So I will have to play or find something to play with. So let's switch out of all this comparison stuff. We have one last model that Eric threw in the chat, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't know. I was like, "What, Eric? Why did you throw this in at the last minute?" And then I went and looked at it, and it's a video. But Eric, I'll run the video, and this comes from a Reddit post under Apple, and it kind of come on.
And the framework laptop has been out for a while. The idea is you get a laptop and it's all upgradable. You can replace the keyboard, you can upgrade the processor, upgrade everything. And so the idea is it lasts longer.
See, and this is the first time I've heard about a framework, so I thought it was pretty cool. And I guess if I was,
Yeah.
there's a time I was putting together motherboards and putting them into chassis and doing that with
Yep.
PCs and helping friends build PCs. But this sort of looks like and he said, a do-it-yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, yeah. Go. Sorry, Dave.
I've seen this. No, I've seen this. This was kind of cool. I mean, I go back to my early days, 26 plus years ago, when I became A+ certified, and I built my own desktop. I love doing that. Now it's just not cost effective, but yeah, this is cool that they're doing a laptop that you actually can build yourself.
And it used to be you could put the whole thing together and it was a reasonable price and you knew what you're getting and you could continue to upgrade it, and now you can't afford to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the end part of this story was basically, yeah, you could do all this stuff, and then you run into some things like, yeah, it's a pretty good screen. That was one thing that I think he said was pretty neat about it. But basically, you ran into all sorts of other problems like heating, fan, and in order to get to the base, you had to pay at least $250 more than what you get a Neo for. So yeah. So that was, I thought, an interesting piece. A couple more pieces, and then we'll be out for the show here. This picked up through Medium, and an article that was posted about is 8 gigabytes RAM enough for programming? Testing the MacBook Neo with Python and Swift UI. And, the end result was author ran 2 months of real post-grad coursework on a Citrus MacBook Neo. Workloads tested heavy ML Python notebooks, Kali Linux VMs, network visualization, Swift UI projects in Xcode, compared side to side against a 16-inch M3 Pro, light to moderate dev work, web apps, Swift UI, and standard Python compatible to the M3 Pro experience, heavy ML combined with concurrent VMs, visible, consistent memory pressure. There was some thermal processing, thermal throttling observed with it. So just, it can be. So if you're working and doing some coding and you've got the opportunity to switch off machines, if you have to do some heavy aspects of it, you can do this on a MacBook Neo, which I thought was an interesting utility for it. Any comments on this one, guys?
If you're a coder that wants to have a giant screen, that's still something to think about.
Get a Dell.
More. That doesn't make it better. More and more, the classwork, coursework is being done by connecting to another system and then running your stuff there. So you basically just need a way to keep track of email, browsers, run some small sample code, and then if something is intensive, shift it over to a computational facility, and then it's not a problem.
Yeah, when I
So
said get a Dell, I didn't mean get a Dell laptop. I meant get a huge Dell monitor to plug it into.
Yeah. Like my, yep,
I mean, a Vision Pro works too.
it's true.
Yeah.
So
This one, yeah. Anything
oh,
else on this one?
I was just gonna say, in general, anything where you're learning or picking up a skill set, the Neo works really well for that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to hit a problem until you start specializing or optimizing or just repeating hundreds of times something where extra seconds make a difference. But at that point, you'll have a budget.
Yeah. Brett, have you ever done any work with Blender?
I have never heard of Blender.
Okay. Anybody else done work with Blender? Eric or
I've
David?
seen it, but I'm
I've heard
not.
of it. I
Yeah.
can't say I've used
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
it
Well,
works well.
this next article is MacBook Neo Blender sculpting honest poly count and memory performance test. I threw this video on. It is a 26-minute video, and I threw it on and started it running. But it shows a guy trying to figure out how many polygons before the Neo breaks, in terms of if you're trying to create a whole series. And I'll just scrub through some of this to see if anything comes out. A lot of pictures of him talking and not enough pictures of Blender. It is a 3D rendering piece of software that can be used for a variety of stuff. Interesting, his video completely changes in terms of previous clips where he is a little more saturated in color in the latter portions of this. But basically, it's for those of you who are interested in that question and whether or not you can actually do this stuff with a MacBook Neo. Take a look at this article. MacBook Neo Blender sculpting, honest poly count and memory performance test. Hey, it was one of the few articles I could find that didn't have Dell in its title. And then this one, my review of as a professional programmer, the MacBook Neo after 2 months. 2 months of daily professional use, back-end Node.js, Docker containers, occasional Electron builds, single Docker container, no issues, multiple Docker containers running simultaneously. There's some memory pressure that's going on with it. Is the kind of the end of this. This is comes from the MacBook Neo subreddit that you might want to have a look at. So yeah, and then one final article.
And that particular one was interesting because there's a long drawn out thing about how they were all worried about getting warranties in case they destroyed their SSD because of too many writes to the SSD, and that's not really an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, and with some of these Reddit links that we give you, it's the discussion that follows that's really quite informative, not just the title of what's posted there. And then this one I found today, it was again something that came up with my search for articles, and it came through the Reddit link. It's a subreddit for Mac. And I didn't quite understand this. I guess it's finding the MacBook Neo accent colors and Mac OS Tahoe.
Oh yeah. Supposedly there were two additional colors that are referenced, but we never got to see them. My guess is they were testing and then decided not to do those 2 colors,
Oh wow.
but hadn't pulled them out of the code.
Did they say what the colors were? Because they have indigo, citrus, and blush. But then
Yeah.
I
they
don't know if
have
So, well, here, hang on. There's a bigger aspect to the story here. Is that in the system settings pane, you can select what accent color you use for the operating system as a whole. Usually seen when you're looking at menu item selections from the menu bar. It's what color is used to highlight your selection. And in macOS Tahoe, the MacBook Neo, for the 4 different colors, you can pick an accent color that matches the case of your laptop. But I was poking around in this article before we started the show here, trying to find out if they identified what the 2 extra colors were. And as of the time we're recording this, I wasn't able to find out what those extra colors were. But this is something I'm definitely going to keep an eye on to see if at a later date someone comes through and is able to crack the code on what those other colors were.
Yeah, they mentioned accents in here. You can also do this with accents. I've been using it and loving that app for about 5 years now. I remember distinctly not liking my screen on the Citrus. And Eric, I don't know what your experiences of background with Citrus. It was just too glowy for me, and I
Oh,
wound up.
I don't think I use that background. I use the black and white one.
Yeah, me too. I use a dead black background, just because I
Yeah,
couldn't
and this isn't
handle.
just your background picture on your desktop. This is the
Yeah,
accent color in the menu bar. Yeah.
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 Okay, cool. So that's it for this week. Again, I want to remind folks that we will not be here coming up on Sunday. What would it be? It would be the 8th.
Seventh,
7th.
7th. Yeah,
because
Sunday,
Monday the 8th is the WWDC keynote.
WDC. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long
Because
week.
I'll be traveling. Of course, we'll come back Monday night for Vision Profiles, and we'll probably talk a little bit about WWDC. I'm going to have to listen to WWDC in the car. That's going to be very strange because I'm the only driver, and I won't be watching it, so I'll be listening to it and see what I can pull up from there.
It's kind of neat to listen to it that way though, because you're not distracted by all the visual stuff, and then you'll probably go back and watch it later anyway. So
Yeah.
you pick up things you wouldn't normally.
Yeah. So we will be back on the 14th, if I've got that correct, with another Neo Notebook show. And we'll see you on the 8th for Vision Profiles if you want to join us for that show. But we are going dark for this coming Sunday. So any comment, Eric?
Did you remember to mention that 26.5.1 update came out for the Neo?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, for the Neo. Okay. Yeah, I will. Yeah. Speak.
It's a minor.
Whoever's talking.
It's a minor update. Yeah, it's me. It's a minor update for most. It affects the M5 processor, and it's mostly enterprise.
Really? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will go through my laptops and see what I need to update. Generally, I'm running
It'll still
betas.
update.
Yeah, I'm running betas. So sometimes when people say the
so you might
latest thing
not
is
see
out,
it.
it's already. I might not see it.
Yeah, you won't
So,
even see it. Right.
Yeah. So that's part of the
I
difference.
installed it on my Neo, and all it did was make my desktop widgets disappear. So, not terribly thrilled with this update just yet.
I just did it.
Mine are still there.
Yeah.
So it was just.
Yeah, I did a
you.
reboot and they came back, but yeah, that was just upon first install when it came back up. Since I use, I think it has something to do with using spaces to switch between different desktops, which is a feature I use frequently. And anytime I'd switch spaces, all the widgets would disappear, then switch back and they all appear again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep, mine are
Okay,
still there.
gentlemen. All right. Thank you for doing this on a special night at a special time to accommodate my my recovery from whatever it was, some weird bug. It felt like my insides crawled out of me.
Ugh.
So yeah, it was. And so thanks for doing that. And that's not really a positive note to end the show on. So let's find out where where we can find you all. And let's start with Brett.
All right. This is my one and only podcast that I get to do, my exclusive podcast. So I'm here on the Neo Notebook every Sunday night. Mastodon is my social media of choice these days. B Kennedy at twit.social. You can find me there.
David.
Yes, you can find me at In Touch with iOS, intouchwithios.com, YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. Neo Notebook Sundays, Vision Profiles Mondays, Mac Voices Live Tuesdays, and then my show In Touch with iOS is recorded on Thursdays, and Blue Sky Mastodon at Dave G65.
Yeah, and I'll be seeing Dave maybe this weekend. We're working it
Yeah, I
out
hope
because
so.
I'm headed to Chicago. Hopefully the Cubs will win for a change. And then Eric.
I can be found on Mastodon at eabolden at mas.to. Otherwise, Sundays on the Neo Notebook, Mondays on Vision Profiles, Tuesdays on Mac Voices Live, and Thursdays on In Touch with iOS.
And you can catch me on all those shows that Eric and Dave mentioned. I'm so glad to have this group together talking about this. You always contribute like core essential stuff that I would not have a clue about. So it just makes the whole show. So I'm really appreciative of David, Brett, and Eric and being a part of this. You can find me on all those shows. Catch me at thepodtalk.net. That's the website that connects all the shows that we do, including the Neo Notebook and Vision Profiles and my connections to other shows like Dave's and Chuck's and again, other pod talks that we do. Thanks for watching the Neo Notebook. New episodes stream live most every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. That's youtube.com /at the Neo Notebook. You can email us at thepodtalknetwork@gmail.com. And again, check out all the shows. And if you forget any of this information, just go to thepodtalk.net. Hey, spread the word to other neophyte users. And thanks for listening.